Try to remember the kind of September when life was slow and oh, so mellow. Try to remember the kind of September when grass was green and grain was yellow. Try to remember the kind of September when you were a tender and callow fellow. Try to remember, and if you remember, then follow. Try to remember when life was so tender that no one wept except the willow. Try to remember when life was so tender that dreams were kept beside your pillow. Try to remember when life was so tender, when love was an ember about to billow. Try to remember, and if you remember, then follow. Deep in December, it's nice to remember, although you know the snow will follow. Deep in December, it's nice to remember, without a hurt, the heart is hollow. Deep in December, it's nice to remember the fire of September that made you mellow. Deep in December, our hearts should remember and follow.
Happy September, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of Richard Skipper Celebrates. Who or what are you celebrating today? There's so much to celebrate when we take the time to do so. And I'm so excited about today's show because I have 5 people on the show that I think the world of. Before we begin, I do want to give a big shout out to my dear friend, Patty Bottino Bravo. She is our sponsor today, and she has a new show that is getting rave reviews, and she's going to be at the Laurie Beechman Theater on Saturday, September 9th. So if you are going to be in New York on that date, please, please, please go to see the show and tell her I sent you. You know, Carol Channing once said that in order for a show to succeed, you need people from all walks of life. And you need people to come together in the collection and the collective force. It's a life force of the music that comes together. You just heard a dear friend of mine, who I haven't seen in a while, Lisa Vigiano. Those of you who follow the show and those of you who are in the arts know that we just recently lost Tom Jones, not the Welsh singer, but the songwriter. And I had the good fortune of being able to sit down and chat with him 2 weeks before he passed away. And then this past Tuesday night, I think it was Tuesday night, we did a celebration of Tom Jones, his son, and colleagues. We had an incredible, incredible show. So if you get a chance, all of these shows are available on demand. Please, everyone, if you are here for the first time, please consider subscribing. There's no charge. And leave a comment. on YouTube, because what that does is that elevates the ranking of the video. And I hope that today's show gets many comments. Now, one of our audience members, Alan, I asked him to pick a number 1 through 5. So all of our guests are waiting behind these numbers and they don't know who I'm going to pull up. But I am going to bring up a man who just had a birthday. That's a clue as to who I'm going to bring up. He has also been selected as a who's who from Millennium Magazine. I had the good fortune of interviewing him several years ago on my Hello Dolly project, which is coming back, everyone. So I had the chance to sit down and talk with him. We had an incredible interview at that time, and we've remained in touch all these years, and he's here today. Spider Duncan Christopher, welcome to the show. So for some reason, Spider, we are getting like a crinkling sound that's coming through. Can you hear it? We're not hearing you at all.
Not at all.
No, you're breaking up. I'm going to take you off, and if you can try to figure out the technical end of it, there's something with your microphone. We will definitely bring you back on. But while we're waiting for you to come on, I'm going to take you off. But it's not working at all. We're not getting your sound at all. So also working on that project, I had the good fortune of interviewing this man, John Calder.
Hello,
So
from Los Angeles.
From Los Angeles. And John, you just survived Hillary.
No, I didn't. I was on the East Coast when it happened, and then I got out here 2 days later. I came through Palm Springs, and it looked like a blizzard had happened. That all the highways were covered with sand, like it had snowed. So I missed it.
Well, I'm so thrilled that you're here. When I reached out to you and asked you to be on this show, well, can I be honest with everyone? You said, I don't think I have anything to contribute. Well, we're going to prove you wrong today. Because, I mean, look at your credits. You're a stage manager. You're a member of SAG and AFTRA. And so how are you faring during this strike that's going on right now? Is that affecting you at all?
It really isn't affecting me. Most of my work is in Actors Equity, but I have many friends and out here in the entertainment community who are suffering mightily from it. And fortunately, we have very strong groups like the SAG-AFTRA Foundation and the Entertainment Community Fund, which used to be called Actors Fund,
Yes.
is supporting people. So both those charities are working very hard to maintain the lifestyle of the people who are suffering. But I'm not suffering right now. I actually took the vacation this summer before I knew the strike was going to be happening. So
what is the one thing that surprises you the most about how long this strike is going on? And how do you feel that this is all going to get resolved?
Well, it's already been declared by the producers that they are going to try to live through it all. They're all able to write off on their budgets about the strike. So the human condition doesn't matter to the producers. So I think it's going to go a long ways. The Writers Guild, we do not speak on stage. We do not present anything without the work of the writers.
Thank you.
And the producers are beginning to believe that there is reality TV everywhere, and it's not. Those are writers who've created great stories, and that's why SAG-AFTRA supported them before we went on strike. So I think we do need to maintain a unified front, SAG-AFTRA and the Writers Guild, and I'm afraid it's going to run much longer than any of us would have hoped. But we do have great leadership in both unions, so that's a good thing.
I agree, and Fran Drescher, I think, is doing a phenomenal job.
She is a force to be reckoned with, and that we did not realize. We thought of her as a comedian, and she's turning out to be a huge political asset, both within the negotiations and publicly for public relations. So, and she's a face everyone recognizes. That's why it's kind of important within our union to have someone who's recognizable. The public can see somebody they know and appreciate what they are or
But
SAG.
don't you feel that that's a big issue in our business to begin with? That everybody wants to pigeonhole someone into a niche, and it's very difficult for a lot of artists to be able to step outside of that niche because of these producers many times who say you're a comedian. You can't do other things. I mean, when you look at someone like Judy Garland, for example, a phenomenal singer, but she was the epitome of a triple threat, in my opinion. And you look at her work in a film like Judgment at Nuremberg. I mean, her dramatic work was phenomenal, but people don't necessarily think of her in those terms.
Well, I mean, although all of us have limitations, I don't believe all of us have as many limitations as are put upon us. It is only the imagination of the director, a producer, a writer who brings out those abilities. And that's unfortunate that she came up in a time period when you were pigeonholed at MGM. You were the ingenue. I worked with Jane Powell. She was the ingenue. She always was the ingenue. And she wanted to break out of that and do serious, and they wouldn't consider it. It was Judgment at Nuremberg was after Judy had left the studio system. And
I knew Jane Powell as well, and and I hope that I'm not giving any tales out of school, but I didn't realize until getting to know her how that being stuck in such a niche was so difficult for her. She was constantly trying to fight to prove her body of worth, as I like to refer to it, to anyone who would be willing to listen to her.
I toured for 2 years with her as her road technical director. And there were the three of us, her musical director, myself, and Jane. And she told the stories of how it was just an imposition upon her that she could not beat it within that system. And once the system had fallen apart, she had already had that label on her. So she worked very hard to try to do theater and do film that were separate from what her ingenue role. And up until the end, she was working with Sondheim on
A Bounce.
Was it Bounce? I was going to say Roadshow, Gold, no. Bounce. One of those.
Yeah. But I want to ask you, we're going to bring on our next guest in a moment.
Sure.
I want to bring Spider back on. But John, I want to ask you, this is a difficult business to begin with anyway. What do you feel has been in your career the most challenging aspect that you had to get through? And I'm not asking for names or specifics that would give anything away, but what was a difficult period and what got you through that period?
Well, when I first got to New York City, I am a stage manager by trade. So I don't audition. I can't come into a room and show you how my prompt book goes or how I call cues. So my first few years in New York City were about accepting that I was going to have to struggle to get past and get in the doors and know somebody that will suggest me or recommend me. And so I actually went to therapy from the Actors Fund to say, how do I make my career? And the positivity and the and it's an old thing, but most people may not know of it. It's called The Artist Way. Was a very helpful book.
Well, I do my morning pages every single morning.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yes.
And so it was a piece of material that I could focus on and see where the positivity was and not dwell on the negativity. And the financial, because in New York City at the time, this was the late 80s, early 90s. It was still expensive even then. It's gotten worse, I know, but.
Well, one of the things that I do on Fridays, I've got 5 mystery questions laid out. And so I want you to pull a number 1 through 5, and then we're going to bring Spider on, my fingers crossed that we've fixed the technical issues, but number 1 through 5.
I'm going to take 3 because I'm John Calder III.
That's right. And the question is, what's the best job you've ever had in this business?
The best job I ever had. Well, my goodness. I toured for 4 years as a stage manager on the Broadway tour of America with a chorus line.
Wow.
Recreating that show after the Broadway closing and taking it out, starting out as a novice with the show and an ASM. And by the last 2 years of it, I was the PSM, which is production stage manager. And I started hearing the stories. And by the end of the tour, I had grown so old that I was telling the stories and sharing them with the young people. And that's a show that I will go around doing anywhere. Byrk Lee calls me, I will come out and do that show again, because it was such an wonderful experience in my life. A chorus line Broadway tour of America.
Anytime Byrk Lee says I need you, I'm there. I love her so much. So let's bring Spider on. And Spider, hello. Spider, that issue is still there. There's a crackling in your microphone. And you're going in and out. I don't know what may end up happening. You may need to reboot your computer and come back and start again. But unfortunately, we're not able to get you on because of this.
Was it the Bluetooth? Is it the Bluetooth earphones?
Is it the ear? You want to get rid of the ear pods and see if that helps? No, we can't hear you at all. But the crackling stopped, but we can't hear you. Now you're muted.
You would just need to, turn off the earbuds. That's better. Can you hear us?
Yes. We can't hear you. No, we can't hear you at all. You're muted. Let me see. You're muted. So, Spider, I'm going to take you off again. We'll hopefully bring you back on. But you're muted for some reason, and we're not getting the sound.
What about now?
Now, perfect.
Now we're okay.
Now we're okay.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Mercury retrograde.
I know. It's funny that you say this, because just a couple of days ago, I could not upload a photograph. Something that I do all the time. And I rebooted my computer. I cleared up my cache. I did everything that they tell us to do. And so Mercury retrograde, but Spider, you're here. And
I'm here.
So Spider, I want to ask you, because you just, who's who, you've done everything. But what's the best job that you've ever had in this business? And have you and John ever worked together?
I don't believe so. Gosh, well, I did direct. I've been directing for many years, and I got to direct this play. I don't know. I keep kind of going back to Hello Dolly because that was so monumental, but
well, that's what brought you and I together. You did the first national tour of Hello Dolly with Carol Channing, and I was reading this wonderful article about you. Congratulations, by the way. And
thank you.
Working with Goward Champion, and I already knew this, became a mentor for you.
Yeah, very much.
But you have been so fortunate with the people that you've worked with that have become mentors, and you have taken that mantle, and you are now doing that for other people, and you're becoming a mentor as well. I want to ask you, what do you think makes a person a great mentor? And we learn about some of the mentors in the article, but to you, what exemplifies a great mentor? And what do you think makes you a great mentor? I'm putting you on the spot by asking that question.
Well, I would say, working with Gower was a great honor. And then working with Bill Esper, and learning the Meisner technique, which I taught for many years, and then I spiderized the technique. I think it has a lot to do with listening and being in the moment, the training of that. So when I work with people, I really absorb everything that they're saying in the moment. And then when we're working on text, it's a way of bringing out whatever they're feeling about what they're talking about, and that's how I can develop the direction of their performance. And so I think that develops a very deep trust when you can uh, trust your director that he really has your back. And so I've really had, I think, great success with that with people. And that probably has a lot to do with because I'm a metaphysician and I take their birth data and I really have a great sense of where they're coming from. I think that's what has made me a unique mentor for the people I've directed and produced.
That's wonderful. And I want to ask, with all of the hats that you wear, and I love the one you're wearing today, because it's one of my
Thank
favorites.
you.
But out of all the hats that you wear, which one do you feel is the one that fits you the best? Like, I mean, like a glove.
Well, it's probably between being a metaphysician and a director, and that maybe that goes with age, because I've read so many thousands of people over the years, and I got an email from someone who saw the article, and he said, "You read me many years ago in Seattle, and I've never stopped thinking about it." And
Wow.
people call me and they say, I just found my tapes, right, that I listened to, and the reading could have been 13, 20 years ago, and they said it was so amazing what was there that I didn't hear at the time. So that's why I've always insisted on being recorded for posterity.
Has the
And now
metaphysical,
we're in an age where tapes don't last, but now most people record me on their phone, just
wow.
as long as it gets recorded so they can go back and listen to it again. I'm fine with it.
Spider, has the metaphysical always been there for you, or when did that really develop for you? And when did you start applying this to the other aspects of your life?
Well, I was in Your Own Thing off Broadway in the late 60s. I had a terrible accident on stage, and then I was misdiagnosed for almost 3 years. I had a herniated disc hitting my sciatic nerve center, and they kept telling me it was muscle damage and eventually would heal, and it never healed. I eventually had to have surgery on my back. So 19, 20, and 21 years old, I could hardly walk up the 4 flights of stairs on West 48th Street where I live. And that was a very, very difficult time. I was working with Bill Esper at the time. He knew I was in pain. And it was through, after I had surgery, and it took about 8 months to heal, he said, one day you will wake up and you will be out of pain. And that happened. And for my 21st birthday, my mother met an astrologer who gave me a reading, who had never met me before. And the first thing she said, I've really been studying your chart. And the first thing that I really have to tell you is you will probably suffer more from the lack of proper diagnosis than anything that'll ever be wrong with you. And that just blew my mind because, that just told it all right there. And that's always been true. So metaphysically, I've studied astrology, and then I learned the new tarot for the Aquarian age. And that's what makes my story unique as a metaphysician, because I read the new tarot with month, day, year, time, and place of birth. And that gives me tremendous insight into whoever is in front of me when I'm reading their chart.
Well, I want you back here sometime where you and I can just do a one-on-one, because I want to hear more about that, because I'm just so fascinated with all of that. But we're going to bring on our next guest in a moment. But just as we did with John, I have 4 mystery questions laid out. So pull the number 1 through 4.
4.
And the question is, what do you think makes you, I'm putting you on the spot again, what do you feel makes you a great role model in this business?
Well, people always comment on my smile and my personality and my friendliness. I think I'm really just such a big child. My mother always called me her sunbeam,
Mm.
and I think that um, makes me very accessible for people. Uh, they get a sense of warmth and friendliness. People on the street can come up and ask me directions, and I'm just I think I would say it probably because kids love me. I love kids. Don't have any, but kids really respond to me when I'm on the subway. And the parents will say, "Wow, she's never done that before." They just
Well, they know. They
so
know.
that I'm a big kid. I just let the God of my being shine, whoever is
Well,
in front of me.
we're going to bring on our next guest. You're actually going to bring on our next guest, because it's like door number 1, door number 2, door number 3. You pick.
Door number 1.
And that is somebody new in my life. LaRaisha, I have to tell you, everyone, just a couple of weeks ago, Lenny Watts invited me to Don't Tell Mama to be a judge on Mama's Next Big Act. Now, normally I don't like doing those. I don't like to be a judge because, in my opinion, you're all winners. Um, but I know Lenny. I did this years ago, and I am so glad that I came. It was the Disney night, and that was one of my favorite. I love Disney to begin with, but you were just so incredible, and
Thank you.
I offered, and this is just a teaser, everyone, that you are going to come back and we're going to do a full show just celebrating you and your journey to get to this point, because you are going to be putting together a new show as part of this process. Um, do you have an idea for the show that you're going to be doing?
Yeah, I think I'm so excited to be here, and I've loved listening to John and Spider talk. I also am like a, a burgeoning metaphysician, like so. I love all of that. But yeah, I think about week 5, I started curating some pieces that I think would fit nicely into the cabaret. Um, I definitely want to take the audience on not just a journey through sort of like the traditional format of song and storytelling, but I hope that they leave feeling a little bit closer to themselves. That's really important to me as an artist, that people um, that they leave feeling grounded, they leave feeling hopeful. And so I'm really excited. I'm talking to a few artistic collaborators, and I think it's going to be very exciting.
I know
I can only say that much.
I know it's going to be exciting, and I cannot wait to be there. But you've been, I think, with all due respect to everyone here, I think you're the baby of our group today. But who were some of the role models? I asked Spider, what made him a great role model. Who were some of the great role models that you've encountered in your time? Are you originally from New York?
So I'm an Air Force brat, but I did my undergrad in the early 2000s in New York, and lived in New York for 8 years before jaunting to North Carolina, and then now finding my way back.
Where in North Carolina?
Wilmington on the coast.
I'm from Myrtle Beach.
Oh, yeah, it's like an hour and a half.
Connection. So
Yeah. So my artistic journey with New York has it's interesting for me at my 30 something years in life. I'm sort of like in the act 2 of like this experience with New York. And I will say I had 2 very formative relationships, friendships, mentorships with professors from undergrad who are actually a couple, and they came to the finale.
Wow.
Kevin Kulke and Mary Battelle, who I call them like my second parents, because truly, you know, they've known me for 19 years and they've seen me through my early beginnings of my craft and now in this moment. And I think their mentorship has been so powerful because I don't know, everything is just always an opportunity to learn something new about yourself. And they're kind of this great tag team of like, what is it you're trying to say? And how can you put that together in a way that's most authentically you? So they've been very formative. And then I actually did grad school in Detroit, and there's a professor at Wayne State, Belicia Charnel Hines, who was actually my first ever Black female professor in all of my training. I had never had a professor who mirrored my experience. She's from North Carolina. And the very first day we met, she just said, you're going places and you have to believe that you're going to get to where you're going no matter what. She encouraged me to write, which really inspired a lot of the later pieces in the cabaret show. She just encouraged me to leave no stone unturned in my creativity, that like this is a life and not a destination. And I'm getting like emotional talking about it. She really is the reason why I came to New York, like came back this summer and said, I'm going to try something that scares me. And when I told her everything that was happening, she was so proud, which made me very excited. And then of course my parents, you know, like they are not really stage parents, but they are very invested in everything me and my siblings do. And I'm very grateful, because that's not always the case.
That's great. And what do you consider to be the best job that you've had in your career so far?
Well, I'll say 2. The job that told me it was time to go back to New York, I was actually in Wilmington, the director of operations for a Broadway touring house, which was kind of like a left field in my career. And being that close to touring productions and artists coming in and doing residencies really stoked that flame. And so I'm incredibly grateful to my former boss, Shane Fernando, and just that whole environment for reminding me like where I want to be. And then actually I do voiceover. That's kind of like my day job. And it's a lot of fun. I get to go into recording studios in New York and record all kinds of commercials and meditation videos. And so I really enjoy it a lot.
That's wonderful. So there are 3 questions left. So 1 through 3.
2.
And your question is, well, it says take 10 minutes, but we're not going to do that. Take a moment to identify what being a good entertainer means to you.
So I will frame this through the lens of an organization that I started training and working with called the TAI Group. That was formerly the Actors Institute, and now they do leadership coaching and training. And Gifford Booth, the CEO of that group, talks about a 3-step process of giving a gift, where you stop and connect with one person and you give them something. It could just be a look or a lyric or, a connection, and then waiting until they receive it before you move on. And that for me is, in my Meisner training, the idea of listening, but I really think that a great entertainer knows how to make each person feel like they're the only person in the room.
That's great. Carol Channing said that she used to pick one person in the audience and imagine that she was performing to her father. So that was her gift at what she always did.
I love
So there are two people waiting in the wings patiently. So pick a number 1 through 2 or 2, and we'll bring on the next guest.
1.
And this is Carol Sue Gershman. Hello, Carol.
Hello, Richard.
I am so glad you're back. You were here a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
You have a new show. You're going to be at Don't Tell Mama. Speaking of mamas,
Yes.
you are opening. You're being really gutsy. You're opening your show on Halloween night.
What do you think? What do you think of that? There, I just know I love on
You're going in and out, just to let you know, Carol. So you may want to just stay positioned in one spot so that
hold it with 2 hands. Is that good?
that's good.
Okay. I just thought that Halloween would add to the fun. And of course, we're going to do a little intro about Halloween and maybe end up with that. And then we'll just do the regular show that I'm going to do. But I just thought it would be fun for people. And I'm certainly hoping it will be. And I know it will.
No, you're on my calendar for November 15th. I think you're doing this show.
I'm excited, Richard.
Yes, it's on my calendar. I'm going to be there.
What did you say?
I said it's on my calendar. I'll be there November 15th.
Really, really honored and thrilled that you'll be there. In fact, anybody that comes brings me the greatest joy in my life. When I people that have come to see me, oh my goodness, I consider that to be a joyous event.
Now, do you have a technique such as the one that LaRaisha just talked about of how you feel that you personally relate to an audience? Is this something that you absolutely think about, or is that something that just happens organically with you?
No, I think about it. I talk to the audience. The audience, why?
You're breaking up.
Okay. The audience is why I am there. And I love reaching out to them. The thing is, Don't Tell Mom is the light so glaring that it's a little hard other than the first, second, third, as we all know. But yes, it's a great pleasure to know that I'm with the wonderful audience that
I always said that I'm a lighting designer's worst nightmare, because I always say I want to see the faces of the people in the back of the theater. It's very important to me that I see everybody's faces, and because I played everybody. The audience is as much a part of the show, the most important part of the show for me
absolutely.
when I'm doing the show. Who are some of the role models that have stood out for you, either as a mentor or people that you feel that you've gleaned the most from in this business?
Well, I am a singer or great
Carol,
world.
you're breaking up a lot. We're getting every other word.
So sorry. Okay. I didn't enter the cabaret world until I was mid, and it was from a boyfriend I was at that time that said to me, "Go." And he said to me, "Well, you can sing." I said, "Come on, I can't sing." Yes, no, I yes, you can. In fact, it's so tough for me that I broke up with him because he told me things that I know he was for, and I followed his open mics, and that is what started me when I grabbed the mic today and said, "I'm going to get up there too." And it's been quite a wonderful adventure ride. Oh my goodness, it's such a beautiful world. With
Uh,
what
That's,
it really is terrific. I'm so
that's
grateful for it. And now I perform, and I'm a performer, and that's what I love.
good for you. Well, I've got 2 questions left, so I'm going to
Yeah,
let you pick 1 or 2, and then we're going to bring Lisa, who's been waiting patiently in the wings.
sure.
So 1 or 2.
Oh, I have to pick a question. Well, I liked 4 that I Spider took, but I'll go with. And by the way, Spider, I love your. So I'm going to.
Okay, and the question is, it says, do something that demonstrates to your friends that you are someone they can rely on. I know that you are somebody that people can rely on. So, when was the last time that you actually did something physically where somebody was not expecting you and you just showed up and delivered the goods, so to speak?
Well, I say comment, sometimes they don't.
Um, uh, uh, well, according to J. Michael Barron, who's watching, he says you're using a mic that has a high noise gate buffer, which is why you're breaking up. I don't know how we fix that, but we're getting every other word from you, Carol.
Okay, can you hear this now? Or
Yes.
all right. You asked about, if I make people happy by coming or surprising them. And I try to go to everybody's show. Sometimes they know that I'm coming and sometimes they don't. But I think it puts a smile on everyone's face when I do come and see everyone. I like to support each person. I like to sit in the front seat so that I could smile at them during their performance. I don't sit in the back, but I like to show them that I am there for them and applauding them.
Well, and we all artists are appreciative of that. I want to get Lisa on here because she's been waiting so patiently. Although
Hi.
you're outside, Lisa, you and I go way back.
Way back.
I think I've known you longer than I've known anyone else here.
Probably 2000, no,
2000 years.
1999,
1999.
2000 in San Francisco we
When
met.
I was performing in San Francisco, and you were very well known in San Francisco. Why?
Young.
Well, we were at one time. Why did you make the decision to come to New York?
Well, I grew up on the East Coast. I grew up in Bayonne.
Okay.
And then I have a lot of family out on the West Coast, and my best friend from high school lived out there. She was the first one to meet my first child. She just happened to move out there as well. So I was in the Bay Area for about 5 years. And then it just got to be, I had a 2.5-year-old and I can work wherever, so it was like, came back. And, we wanted the kids to be near their grandparents. So that was
That's great. That's wonderful. And was it an easy transition to come back to New York? Did you feel like you were starting over again?
Well, I have to be honest with you. When I came back, in terms of cabaret, I was actually in a better place because people were like, "Oh, you're Lisa from San Francisco," because there was so much that I got to do out there. It was such a gift to be in a little bit of a smaller pool in terms of, just opportunity. So I did off Broadway in San Francisco. I did these great the Help is on the Way benefits for Richmond Ermit Aid Foundation. That's their Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS. So I got to share a room with a dressing room with Rita Moreno, and Bonnie Raitt patted my pregnant belly. It was crazy. The fun things I got to do there. And then when I came back, people were, "Oh, Lisa from San Francisco," and I was like, yeah. And also, talking about all this metaphysical and spiritual stuff, I was so plugged in there in terms of that. And it took years for me to find my footing or my light here in terms of connecting with people who are in that same place.
Mm-hmm.
So that took a little longer, but the music stuff it was really easy when I got back.
And now that and then we've all gone through this crazy period of COVID. Do you feel that, how has that shaped you and where you are now with what you're doing? I still feel like everything in my mind is a time warp.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So for me, my survival job is really a beautiful job. I work as a speech therapist with students from age 11 to 21 with pretty severe special needs. So when people were cleaning out their closets and whatnot, I was learning how to do virtual speech therapy with kids with autism and multiple disabilities over over Zoom. So that was really intense. And then I also had a foot surgery during that time. So it was all like blurry. And so when I came back to, reality here, I just, my focus is definitely more on community and really doing what I'm called to versus like what sounds like a good idea. I think I did a little more of that before the pandemic. I always tried not to do that at all, but now it's really not a thing. Aside from doing some cabaret and live music right now, I'm working on this really cool project with a friend of mine who is now musical. We're working on, my regular music together. His name is Wells Hanley. He's down in Virginia, Wells is lovely. He's amazing. So he also has a meditation band called Bodhi Heart. I highly recommend listening to it. Just so soothing. So when I met him, I was like, so I know this about you. Would you like to write some like Dharma music? And he was like, well, what's that? And I'm like, I don't know really what that is, but I'll know. And then I will know when it comes. And a couple months in, when we were working together, just all this like magical musical explosion was happening. And then I was on my way to teach at Young Actors Theater Camp in the Bay Area.
With Sean Ryan?
Yes. My dear love. Oh, he's all of our mentor.
I know.
He is so amazing. So
too bad he has no talent.
Oh, what a talent. What a talent. Oh, God,
I'm joking, Sean. I'm joking. I love him so much.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't hear. I
said too bad he has no talent.
Yeah, too bad he has no talent. Oh, my God. He's got more talent in one finger than the whole world. So so I was on my way 2 weeks prior to going out. All of a sudden I always read Rumi poems or quotes, always, since they started, Coleman Banks, I think it was the translator. About 20 or so years ago, the Essential Rumi came out. I mean, I had that book a million years ago. And I was just reading, and I all of a sudden went, oh my God, mantras, meditations inspired by Rumi. And I started singing this song. And it was like, do you know it yet? It is your light that lights up the world. Right. So I was like, it just started singing, it came to me, and I was like, holy moly. So we did it, and we added every pronoun. I called Wells right away. I'm like, we have to write this song on Zoom right now, because he's only here once a month. So he's like, okay, let's put our original sound, our sound for musicians on Zoom. And we're like, singing softly, and he's playing, and we're making it work. So we wrote 2 that day. And since then we've written a bunch more, and I'm going to see him this weekend, and we're going to, complete that project. And it's not cabaret, it's not musical theater, but it's so my heart. And so I think that is really like one of the, the darkness of the pandemic, and like planting seeds in like all of me. Yeah.
I think that's the name of your show. It's So My Heart.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. So there's one question left, and then I'm going to go around, and I've got just a question that I'm going to ask each of you. What's the best advice that you've ever received in this business?
Scott Barnes. Lord rest his soul.
Yes.
Said to me once, cry through it at home. Because then you'll be able to connect with the audience. The audience won't worry about you, and the tears will be in the song. So that is what so if there's something that really moves me and I'm so connected to that, that's what we're drawn to. We get to choose our material most of the time in the cabaret world. And even if we're playing a role, if we really connect to a song, we can get us super emotional. So that is what I do. I'll just sing it a million times and just weep at home. And then the tears will be in the song already when it's time.
What great advice. I just love that. So it's funny, John, that you mentioned earlier The Artist Way by Julia Cameron. I am religious about this book. I do my morning pages every morning. I do my morning walk, do my meditational walk. And so it's very much a part of my process. I also I pull 3 books randomly off the shelf each morning, and I choose a few pages that I read from each book, and I think about the questions that I'm going to ask my guests that are on the show. And so the questions that I've asked today are based on my readings from this morning, and I'm going to start with you, John. And the question is, what is something that made you truly proud today?
Well, it's superficial, but my Atlanta Braves won yesterday against the Los Angeles Dodgers. So I didn't do it, but I was there. I got to finally go to a Dodger game after the pandemic. So it's my first time. So I was proud that I made the effort. I got out there and did that. And met new people. I sat among a group of people who were all Dodger fans, and we laughed and had a great time, and it was all very, very social. So I was kind of proud of that.
And there's nothing superficial about that at all. Spider, do you just, this is a statement, and I want you to finish the statement, okay? I don't desire to pursue projects that don't align with. Finish this sentence.
Well, my heart, I would say.
Perfect.
I have to really feel the material is something that I can really bring life to and tell a deeper truth. So I tend to chart out the material if I can. If it's based on fact, I'll go back and look in the ephemeris and see what was happening on that day. That's a wonderful advantage I think I have as a director, to bring out the truth of so it has to resonate in me. And I also, when things are kind of like that, would be kind of scary to do that. I think a lot of actors relate to that. Then I better do it and work through it. So I would say that.
I love that. LaRaisha, who were you before today, and who have you transformed into?
Ooh.
Before today, I was someone who didn't quite believe that I was worthy of sharing my gifts. And today it creates this flutter of just being so excited to connect with another human being that it's not even about like worthiness. It's just about connection for me.
I love that. I love it. Carol, 3 habits that help you get to your current show.
Would you say that again?
3 habits that helped you get to your current show.
Oh, well, lots of rehearsals is number 1. Feeling confident that I could go on. Actually, I'm going to do 3 shows, which is quite a bit, but I'm looking forward to it very much. So confidence and just loving it so much that I wanted to be back on stage and bring my story and the lyrics that connect with my story to the stage.
Wonderful. Perfect. And Lisa, a strong positive opinion about something in this industry.
I have to say a strong positive opinion. I have to say that the essence of the type of person who is drawn to this industry, like when you get past all the, BS.
Yes.
Ultimately, we're all like just really full of heart, wholehearted type of people who, choose to put so much time and energy into this. I really do believe that, because over the years, when I was younger, I used to be intimidated by people, or, I would fall down from, didn't think I was worthy, right? And I would feel, competition would freak me out. I don't feel any of that anymore because now I just see who these people are and they're all a little bit of me. So
I love it. Well, I want to thank you all for being here. You all inspire me, and that's not just lip service. I'm going to give each of you a chance to have your final word today. It could be about anything that we spoke about that you want to build upon, anything that we didn't talk about that you wish that we had, or just any final message you want to leave everyone with today. And again, any links, anything that you've sent me will be on the YouTube channel, so that people will be able to follow you and keep in touch with you. I end every show. Now, what I'm going to do is when I finish, I'm going to pick one of you. And then when you finish, you'll pick the next person, and so on until the last person is standing. And when at the end of your so long, don't worry about how to end it. As soon as you say goodbye, the final credits will roll. But I end every show by telling everyone to go out and do something nice for somebody else without expecting anything in return. Pick up the phone and call someone you haven't spoken to in a while. Pick up the phone. In numerology, today is an 8-day. So go to your Facebook friends list and go to the 8th person that pops up and reach out with a phone call. Not an email message, not a text message, not a private inbox message, but a phone call. I want you all to do the same thing. And I want you to let me know the response that you get. And then by letting that person know that they've made an impact on your life, you are going to make an impact on their life. My husband, Danny, and he has a very dear friend, and her daughter, 41, last Saturday, got up and said, I don't feel well. And she went to bed and she didn't wake up.
Oh.
And I don't say that for the morbidity of someone's life being just cut off so short, but to say that each and every day is a gift and to really celebrate these gifts to the most. I went to the wake on Wednesday night, and her mom said that the night before, she was an artist. She was prepping for her next exhibit. There was ill at all. It just came out of the blue. So cherish each and every day. I have a dear friend, Sean Moniger, and Sean Moniger says we're all in the same boat, but we're in different storms. And I always say, I don't care what size boat you're on, as long as you have a skipper by your side. And with that, I'm going to leave the screen. And LaRaisha, I'm turning it over to you. And when you finish, you'll pick the next person. Thank you all, and I'll see you all next week. Goodbye.
Okay, so this is for anyone from ages 0 to 110. Never give up, never give up, never give up, because there is someone who is waiting for you to shine your light. So never give up, and it's never too late. And I would like to turn it over to John.
The most important thing in this business is to believe in your craft and to keep the people around you that support you and give you positive energy. There's no reason to have anyone around you who doesn't give you that positive energy. So keep the faith, keep the craft, and enjoy the process. Carol Sue.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for bringing up Artist's Way. I don't think I've looked at that for 25 years. And I think it might be a good time for me to bring that back, because what I find so difficult in this business is the internet and trying to connect with everybody. And, I'm not so good on sending out all of these emails that I have to do. And it's just today I finished, and I'm proud of that. But anyway, I think that the Artist's Way will be a very good way to bring myself back reality of what I am actually doing for this show. So thank you very much for that. Oh, who do I choose? Lisa?
My last words are a big, huge thank you to you, Richard. Over the years, you have given me so many opportunities. You've given so many people so many opportunities. And I am so thrilled that you're going to be back on stage. We're going to be able to see you. I hope you have a lot of dates, because I've missed some of them in the past couple of years, because, you know, if there's only one or two, I haven't been able to get there. But I just want to thank you. You are a light. Oh, and Spider.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Richard. It's my first time doing anything like this, and I really enjoy you so much. I want to tell people to Google Who's Who, Spider Duncan Christopher, because they did an article on me that just came out on the internet. And I just got a call the other day that they put me on the cover of the Millennium magazine, which goes all over the world. And that's just come out on the internet. And I'm on the cover, and I'm on page 46 and 47. And I'm absolutely thrilled. I feel very, very blessed for the acknowledgement. So thank you, Richard. With love, it is done.